Good morning. Well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us here today. You know, I first ran for the Senate because I wanted to make sure that we had someone here actually talking about the issues that matter in women's lives and fighting for the policies to address them. When I came here, one of 4 women senators elected that year, things like childcare and paid leave, workplace harassment, women's health were an afterthought at best, or worst, just ignored. We've come a long way, both in terms of women in Congress and in terms of giving these issues the attention they deserve. Look at the lineup behind me today. But there are still so many ways women's needs are ignored, overlooked, or stigmatized, and menopause is a great example. After all, menopause is something that every woman goes through as she gets older, every single woman. So why do we have a status quo where no one wants to talk about it? Why is it so stigmatized? The bottom line is, for too long, menopause has been overlooked, underinvested in, and left behind. It is well past time to stop treating menopause like some kind of secret and start treating it like the major mainstream public health issue it is. That means more federal research and coordination on menopause and other issues related to women's midlife health, more public awareness and education, improved detection, diagnosis, and treatment of perimenopause and menopausal symptoms, and better training for our healthcare providers, for a start. So that's exactly what we did with our new legislation, the Advancing Menopause Care and Midlife Women's Health Act. I am so proud to introduce this bill today along with so many other amazing women on both sides of the aisle. Because menopause is not a bad word, it's not something to be ashamed of, and it is not something Congress or the federal government should ignore. Menopause is something that every woman goes through, so there's no reason that any woman should feel like she's going through it alone or like she can't find reliable information or the healthcare answers and options she needs. And there is no excuse for shortchanging this issue when it comes to federal dollars. So we're going to be working hard to build support for our legislation, pass it into law, and make menopause a part of the conversation until it finally gets the spotlight and resources that it needs. And I'm grateful, really grateful, to have an amazing partner working with on this with us, who is really an expert in the spotlight and a really passionate advocate about this issue, Halle Berry. From our conversation about this, I could tell she has the same feeling that always drives me to fight for change. If no one else is going to talk about this, I'll get it done myself. Halle, thank you. I'm really excited for you to hear from her shortly. She really is incredible. And I'm also thrilled to have a really strong showing of women here in the Senate on both sides of the aisle joining us to introduce this bill today. I especially want to thank my co-leads in the Senate, Senator Murkowski, Baldwin, Collins, Klobuchar, and Capito, and our other great sponsors who you'll hear from as well today, Senators Stabenow, Gillibrand, and Hassan. These are all women who know how to get things done. So thank you all so much for being a part of this. And with that, let me turn it over to my co-lead, Senator Murkowski.
Right. Thank you, Patty. I want to thank Chairman Murray for her leadership on this initiative. I think that you and I both kind of came into the conversation with a meeting with Halle Berry, who came to the Capitol last year to raise this as an issue. And it was one of those moments where you just kind of stop and say, why not? Why haven't we focused more on menopause? Why has it become this issue that seems to be a little taboo? Good heavens, as Chairman Murray has said, this is something that every woman goes through, whether you have birth children or not birth children, whether you are in a higher income bracket or the poorest of the poor. This is a natural body process that 1/2 of humans go through. So why has it been kind of kept in the back? Why haven't we not focused on the research, on the medical training, on all of the attributes of this? Why have we not allowed ourselves to really look at the full life spectrum of women? Because most of us get to that point, hopefully, when menopause is that natural part of our life. So let's not be afraid to talk about it. Let's not be afraid to put the resources behind better understanding. Let's talk about it. And it shouldn't just be the women that are talking about it. When I mentioned to several of my friends that I was having a press conference this morning and we're introducing this legislation about menopause, it was like I had said a word that allowed them to finally speak. And what I got was, oh my gosh, that would be so great. You know, my wife is going through menopause. My sister-in-law is going through menopause. I can't figure out. They need the information as much as any women out there. Now, I would just suggest one little thought. That if men went through menopause, we would have adequately and appropriately funded the research to menopause decades and decades ago. So there's no time like the present to get moving, to get forward on it, to be with this strong delegation of women, knowing that we will gain our partners not only on a bipartisan basis, but with our male counterparts in the Senate and in the House. I'm looking forward to that. But we really got the conversation started with Halle Berry, and I want to recognize her. But I look forward to working together to make the positive advancements that women need. Halle Berry.
Hello. First, let me say how incredibly honored I am to be here. And never did I think in my lifetime I would be here advocating for something and being a champion of a cause, especially this one. But I want to thank Senator Murray. You were the first person that I met when I came here on this journey. And Senator Murkowski, thank you for coming on as also a co-lead. When that happened, I knew right away, oh my God, this is going to be a bipartisan movement, because I can't think of a topic that should not be politicized. I can't think of an issue that's more of a human rights issue than anything. So to have support from both sides of the aisle is really important for all women. And I thank everyone else, all of you other beautiful, smart, strong women up here for lending your support and agreeing to co-lead or co-sponsor, because this is probably, I think, in our lifetime, ladies, one of the most important thing that we'll do for ourselves. And it's really important that we all stand together and lock arms. And I am beyond honored to be here and be a part of this movement that's happening. So you guys might say, okay, why me? Why am I here? Well, first, I'm here because I'm standing up for myself. Because I know that when a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. And all women go through menopause. And, you know, we think that this is something that affects just old women. We've been, you know, society has told us when we get to be old, we should just sort of putter away. We should fall off into obscurity, and that our issues don't matter. Well, that's just not true. I am going to be 58 years old this year, and I have never felt better. I have never felt more ready for this world. I am wiser. I'm in the process of raising children. I started late. I'm raising children, and I'm more accomplished than I've ever been. I've risen to the top of my chosen industry. It's not time for me to go out to pasture and lay down and die. That which our society would tell me it's time for me to do. I want to start a brand new career. Right? I'm going to start a business that will speak to women in midlife, because I want to use the platform that I have to really do real good in life. Making movies has been fine, and I'm proud of that, but I really want to, for this next act of my life, really give back in a way that's substantial, that will be talked about long after I'm gone, but it will really make a difference in the life of every woman. So one of the things that I've been struggling with, and this is the part of my job in all of this, is to always keep this issue human. You all, I'm sure, have heard about my lady part issues, But menopause is not just about our lady parts. And so many people think it's just about what happens, you know, below our belly button, and that's where our issues are. That's not true. One of the most impactful issues that we're facing when we get to midlife is our brain health. Because estrogen, we have estrogen receptors in every cell in our body, every organ in our body. And when we get to midlife and our estrogen levels start to drop, it affects every part of our body, not just our lady parts that people kind of want to like write it off to. It affects every part of who we are, right? So it's really important that we lean into our health care in midlife, not lean out. It's really important that when we go to see our doctors, they have thoughtful conversations, knowledgeable conversations with us about what's going on with us. And I'll tell you a quick story, not about my lady parts. I told that story. This is another story. I was at the doctor 3 days ago, and I went in to talk to him about an issue, and I said to him, you know why I'm having this issue, right? And he says, yes, I know. I said, tell me, why am I having this issue? He said, you tell me why you're having the issue. I said, no, you tell me why I'm having the issue. And we went back and forth. You tell me, you tell me, you tell me. I finally realized he wasn't going to say it. So I thought, okay, I have to do what no man can do. I have to say it. I said, I'm in menopause, okay? And that's why I'm having this issue. And he said, oh my God, I could never say that to you. Look at you, you don't look like you're in menopause. I could never say that. And if I said that to all of my female clients, they'd punch me. And again, I knew that is why I'm here doing this work, because it has to be destigmatized. The shame has to be taken out of menopause. We have to talk about this very normal part of our life that happens. Our doctors can't even say the word to us, let alone walk us through the journey of what our menopausal years look like, or our years after that, right? So when I have these moments, real moments that happen to me, I know that every other woman around this country are having these real moments as well. They're lost, they're afraid, they don't have direction, and they need help. So that's why I'm here. I'm here as a citizen of the United States, as a woman who is demanding that our government give us what we need, because we deserve it. We have been overlooked, we have been discarded for far too long, and I'm so grateful to have a team of powerful, strong, smart women who are saying enough is enough, because guess what? It's enough. It's enough. So thank you so very much for being here and caring about this issue. And I have one last thing to say, and this is a call of action. While I'm so grateful for all of the ladies that are here, I'm slightly disappointed that they're all not here today, because that's just me. I get my heart set on something, and that's why I wore my orange suit, because I wanted all of the women to be here today. And the ones that aren't here yet, I want them to know we've got work to do. We know, but I'm coming for you. We are coming for you. We are coming for you, and I will not stop until we all stand here, all the women of the Senate, myself included. I'm not of the Senate, but I'm here with them, and we're going to stand together and we're going to fight to get this passed. And then I want every woman out there, in whatever state you're from, reach out to your senator, male or female. Reach out to your senator and tell them what you need. Demand to be heard, because that's one way you stand up, like I'm standing up right here. You stand up in your own state and you demand that there's a change and that money is allocated for your health in midlife and beyond. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yay. And now I turn this over to Senator Baldwin.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Halle, we couldn't dream of a better champion for this legislation and this cause. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you, Chair Murray, for bringing us all together today. And I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Pauline Mackey, who I just learned as a Wisconsinite, yay, but for being such a champion on this important issue. You know, we don't talk about menopause very often, but we really should. As you've heard, half of America will experience menopause in their lifetime, with thousands of women reaching menopause every single day. Even though menopause and perimenopause impact millions of Americans every year, women have too often been forced to suffer in silence, with sometimes debilitating symptoms like hot flashes, sleep loss, mood changes, and joint pain. In fact, a national survey in the U.S. revealed that 4 out of every 10 women said menopause symptoms interfered with their work performance or productivity. For far too long, menopause has been treated as a taboo or simply written off as a women's issue. It's our responsibility to come together and to reverse that stigma to help millions of women get the care that they deserve. I am proud to stand with my Democratic and Republican colleagues to introduce this legislation today, and together we can help millions of Americans better understand menopause and treat their symptoms so that they can confidently enter their next chapter. And now I want to introduce Senator Capito.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you for your advocacy. It's great to be here with so many of my fellow senators. I think we're proving here that menopause is not a partisan issue. It certainly is a bipartisan issue. And Senator Baldwin and I are the I'm the ranking member. She's the chair of the subcommittee on Labor H, where a lot of the research, this to me is the most exciting part of what we're talking about today, is the research that's going to occur at NIH and other places to be able to answer the questions that, quite frankly, the only person I went to ask was my own mother. Yes. And many of us have relied on our mothers and our sisters to give us a hint, give us a clue, see where we're headed. And so now we're going to have the opportunity to not only have professionals better trained, but also have the research that backs up how and where menopause affects people. Some people it affects a lot, some people it doesn't affect hardly at all. And so there's a whole spectrum here. So I'm really excited about what this does and this bill does. I'm excited about the bipartisanship, and we will work on many of our other members to be here today. So by taking this effort, I think we're taking a big step to help our fellow females, but also every family, everybody, really. This will affect everybody in the end. And I'm proud to be here today. I do have to slip out, though, because we have all kinds of committee meetings going on. So thank you all for being here, and thank you. Thank you, Halle. Mm-hmm. Oh, and now I forgot my last thing. Senator Klobuchar, my friend. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Shelley. Thank you to Tammy, and thank you to Senator Murray and Senator Murkowski and Halle Berry. We're going to match your orange pantsuit, I promise. This is a moment where we can make talking about menopause cool, or at least not hot. Okay, that is our plan. You all saw that new study that came out, and that's great, just this week. But when we were just talking about this beforehand, for years, there's just confusion. What should we do? Is it safe to do this? Is it safe to do that? We know that for most women, this starts between the ages of 45 and 55. It can last for years. And here we are in 2024 talking about it. And as Lisa noted, I think if this was happening to men all these years, we would not be out right here doing this press conference, because we would have figured out the treatment, we would have gotten the facts, and now it's our time and our moment to get this done. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experience with this, a little different but yet similar to many women that I have talked to. I was diagnosed, as many of you know, a few years ago with stage 1A breast cancer in 2021, and for a number of reasons we are not going to get into, the surgery and medication triggered months and months of hot flashes. And so literally I am going out to the Senate floor, having to give some big speech, listening to one of our male colleagues who have no idea what is going on, and I can tell you it is a recipe for hard times and dark thoughts. Like, these guys have no idea what I'm going through, and now they're saying that. Why is he giving this speech? Why doesn't anyone care? And so these hot flashes, as noted, can keep you up at night. They can drive you, especially nuts during hot weather, thank you, with lights. And for cancer patients especially, there are very limited remedies, and including nightly visits to the freezer. And by that I mean, yes, putting your head in the freezer. At one point, I was doing an interview on antitrust, scintillating topic, on the Stephen Colbert Show, remote, with that light like that in my face, and I had not one, not two, not three, but 4 hot flashes in the middle of the interview. The lucky part for me is, for some reason, anyone could tell except this time. A very famous person called me and said, "What are you doing? You look just glowing on that interview." It was just incredible. So while this is a taboo subject to usually talk about, you can see there are some clear advantages from time to time. And it's easy to laugh, but we know that for so many women, it actually sets them back so much. It sets them back each day. It sets them back in their work lives. And fortunately, this conversation is now changing in a big way. So people at some point in our lives are going to feel much more free to talk about it to those male colleagues who are out giving a speech. And they're going to feel much more free to figure out what is wrong, what can I do, what's safe for me to do, which has been so confusing for so many women when it comes to hormone patches and the like. So I am really excited that we're putting this force, and there's nothing that we can't do when you got this group gathered on one stage. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with my colleagues on this. Thank you. And now up, the incredible and the author of the Farm Bill, which is soon going to be done, shows you can juggle many things at one time, Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you, Amy. Good morning, everyone. If you take nothing away from this morning, if you are not here as a man or a woman joining us, Halle Berry is coming for you. We're looking forward for that. So, thank you to all my colleagues, led by Senator Murkowski. And I would just stress a couple of things. This is a healthcare issue above the neck as well as below the neck. Back in President Obama's time, he, for the first time, set up what's called the Brain Initiative at the National Institute of Health to actually research the brain. We know that at least 30% of the time, a woman going through menopause will go through depression. It's physiological. And that institute needs to be researching menopause as part of the Brain Institute. There are so many ways that we need to lift up women's health care, whether you're a pregnant mom and not getting the care that you need, whether you're a new mom, whether you're going on in later stages of life or at the end of your life. This is about health care. And so I'm just very proud to be here with my colleagues to say the word menopause loudly and proudly. I was so excited to see they set up a menopause caucus in the U.S. House, and colleagues that are part of that. This is real, it's serious, and as my colleagues have said, if men were affected, there would be a large NIH institute totally dedicated to every aspect of the effects on men of menopause. So let's do it. All right, let me turn to Senator Gillibrand.
Senator Stabenow. Thank you so much to these extraordinary women standing with us. I'm very grateful for Senator Murray and Murkowski for bringing us together. And thank you to Halle Berry for her passion, for knowing that women in America need a voice like hers to lift up this issue, to make sure people know what's at stake, and to make sure people understand the unfairness of the lack of research, the lack of dedication in our medical schools to teaching doctors and OBGYNs about menopause and what the impacts are for women's health and what the best treatments are to deal with symptoms. You wouldn't believe it, but for OBGYN residency programs, a recent study shows that only 31% of those programs have menopause in the curriculum at all. That is ridiculous. As many as 80% of OBGYN residents admit they're ill-prepared to discuss menopause with their patients. Women's health is human health. This is fundamental to our survival, fundamental to our well-being, fundamental to our ability to function in our families, in society, and to be a productive member of our communities. Menopause can make a huge difference in women's lives and could have a massive influence on age-related diseases. But it's one of the most underfunded, undertreated, and underdiagnosed fields of medicine. In fact, the majority of preclinical biology research studies in aging fail to even consider menopause. And we don't even have a clear picture of how menopause affects aging, how it might affect cardiovascular health, breast cancer, dementia, and mental health. This has to change. This is something that we should all believe has to be an imperative for the NIH, for national research, for our medical professionals, and for our med schools. I'm very dedicated to this cause since I am well past menopause. And when I went through my personal symptoms, I had no one to ask. My doctors were fantastic. I had women doctors who were already gone through menopause, and they explained everything. And I just think the rest of the medical field needs to catch up, they need to do their jobs, and they need to support women. Our next speaker is Senator Hassan.
Well, thanks so much, Kirsten, and thank you to all of my colleagues here, and a special thank you to Halle Berry for using your voice to advocate on this issue. It's really a privilege to be with all of you today. As you have heard my colleagues and Halle talk about, menopause is one of those words that nobody wants to say. It's a natural part of life that no one is used to talking about. I still find that some of my younger colleagues, whether they are staff, whether they are other legislators or other political leaders, there sometimes is a woman kind of tiptoeing up to you saying, have you ever had like hot flashes? Like, I don't know what to do about this. It is not something we have been talking about, and therefore it is not something that has been studied, that has been normalized, that has been invested in, and it's really, really not only long past time that we're introducing this bill, but exciting that we are. Despite the fact that half of the population will experience menopause, even in the 21st century, there is a really clear lack of awareness and public discussion, and really significant gaps in what we know about menopause. As Senator Klobuchar mentioned, for about the last 20 years, women have been told, based on a study that I think is about 20 years old, if I'm right, Doctor, that they really shouldn't use hormone treatment therapy because of the risks involved. Then I read this article yesterday that says, actually that study done by a well-respected group, that was pretty wrong. The design was bad. People have known the design was bad for a while, but we're finally catching up, and the new research shows that there are really safe options, particularly for younger women who are beginning menopause. So we have a lot of work to do. That's why this bipartisan legislation, which will strengthen federal research and raise public awareness and expand training, is so important. I too had women doctors. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was find a primary care physician who is female and about 5 years older than you are, because she will have gone through everything else. And I was very, very lucky to have excellent women physicians, but that also speaks to the need for full and diverse representation in all professional fields, right? Especially when it comes to healthcare. So last thing, if we believe, as we do in the United States of America, in our beloved democracy, that every single person counts and has full and equal worth, then we have to make sure that we are investing in healthcare research, treatment, and actual care that serves every single person so that they can reach their full potential, be full contributors to our society, and continue to make a difference regardless of the stage of life they're in. So thank you all very much for being here. It's now my real honor and pleasure to turn this over to Dr. Mackey. Doctor?
Good morning, everyone. I have the tremendous honor of representing the menopause research community. And on behalf of the community, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you, Halle. This is nothing short of revolutionary. I used to be that weird scientist who studied the brain and menopause, and I was kind of sidelined into, you know, the back area of the NIH and the like, and suddenly there are hot flash commercials on the Super Bowl. You know, so what's happening here, right? Now, I got into menopause research not thinking, oh, you know, I went out to get my PhD in cognitive neuroscience to study menopause, but I got into it because of sex differences in Alzheimer's disease. And all of us have someone in our family affected by Alzheimer's disease. What you may not know is that 2/3 of individuals living with Alzheimer's disease are female. So why is that? Well, one of the many benefits of being female is that we live longer than our male counterparts, but we're also in a different position because as we age, we not only go through chronologic aging, we go through hormonal aging. And that has a very specific effect on our brains. So we heard about hot flashes, the hallmark symptom of the menopause. I measure hot flashes in my research studies by hooking women up to monitors that measure when they sweat. Last Friday, a woman came into my lab and we looked at her data. She had 40 hot flashes in one day. 40 hot flashes in one day. And yes, they are worse if you are being treated for cancer. They're worse if you're black or brown. And only 20% of women get their symptoms treated. Now, why is that important? Because our research shows that if you do these fancy brain scans, the more hot flashes a woman has, the more stroke-like abnormalities we see in her brain, the more her memory is affected, and the more her memory circuitry is affected. So what does that mean? It means that menopause brings her brain to a different state when she's at the age of 60. She has to build resilience. So what do we need? We need to get women the help they need to build the best brains that they can, so that if and when the pathology of Alzheimer's disease begins, they're resilient to it. And to do that, we need more menopause researchers. We need more menopause funding. It just makes sense economically. So I am so excited to have this infusion of interest in this topic so that we can help women lead the best lives they can through a more informed understanding of menopause. And with that, I thank you, and I'll turn it back to Senator Murray for the questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Really appreciate your insight. Thank you to all of our amazing co-sponsors, and especially thank you to Halle for being the force behind us that is here today. This is the beginning, not the end. This is our start of going out and getting as many co-sponsors as we can on both men and women. And we are going to get this passed and put it into law and make sure that women have the research they need, have the public health information they need, and that we, as women in the Senate, along with our help from Halle and so many others, are going to change lives for women. That's our goal today. So thank you all for being here. And I think I have time for a couple questions. Yes. Anybody has any questions specifically? Yes. So our goal today is to get as many co-sponsors as possible. You know me, I don't sit around and pretend that this is done. Now we're going to go out and get co-sponsors, and when we have enough and we know we have the votes, then we'll bring it to the leader in the Senate. I know there are a number of colleagues in the House as well who are working on this, and we will just work as hard as we can until we get it done. Other questions? Yes. Has nothing to do with that. This has to do with the phase of life that women are going through during menopause, and the fact that we do not have the research, the support, the physicians out there who can help women through it and make sure that women are taking the best care of themselves as they can as they go through menopause. Yes. 16. Right now, this minute. Give us 10 minutes.
And we just started.
Yeah.
And
All right.
we haven't even invited the men. And I bet they'll all say yes the minute we ask. Yeah. Will you be on a menopause bill? Yes, yes. Of course I will.
Are you afraid of it?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of this bill? No.
See what I mean? We'll get there. Well, again, thank you all so much for being here. Let's go get this done. Thank you.
Well said.